Today on Ninjamobil Dart, we're going to start making the chassis, would you believe? So there's the plan view of what's about to happen. The outline of the chassis is there, as usual not very clear. Driver sits over on the left at 10 degrees to the centre line. The engine's on the right at 1 degree to the centre line. It's the rear frame, rear axle. All the gubbins in the front with the pedals and the front suspension, 2 front wheels. And the side view, here, frame like so. There's the driver's helmet, roll bar, rear frame, rear wheel, front wheel, steering rack, etc. Now to kick things off, this is the sub-assembly, which you'd call the front bulkhead. So the 2 master cylinders sit on there, the 2 brake master cylinders, 10 degrees. There's no clutch master cylinder because it's like a mechanical clutch, cable clutch. Those 4 bolts are for the steering rack brackets. That hole was already there. Bottom wishbone bracket, top wishbone bracket on each side, and this bit of 10mm rod is for clutch pedal, brake pedal, and the throttle pedal will hang out here somewhere. So I made that on the bench, just marked the centre line and popped all the tubes together. That's all ready to go. And the other part of the job, paint the floor nice matte grey, and having done the drawing of the car, quarter scale on the drawing board, draw it full size on the floor and start cutting tubes. So here we have the foundations of the Ninjamobil Dart chassis sitting on the floor, or possibly more like the ground floor of the chassis, I suppose. Salient points include, you can see the driver's compartment on the left, engine goes over on the right. It's made of stainless steel, which is not really what we wanted, but you can't buy square steel tubing in anything less than 1.5mm wall thickness in Australia anymore. So to get 1.2mm thickness, which is nice and light, it has to be stainless, which is okay. It's a nuisance to work with because it ruins all your blades and cutting tools and distorts terribly when you weld it, and it's hard to glue things to, but on the upside it doesn't rust. Other little thing that's in there, have a close look, the seatbelt mounts, seatbelt bracket mounts are already in place, just some little threaded bushes welded in, but it's easier to do that while the tubes are loose than when you've got a complete chassis to deal with. And the other feature, I've already fabricated out of 32mm by 1.2 bore chrome moly, is what I suppose you call the seat back bulkhead. So that's ready to weld on. But to start with, I'll tack it on up here to use it as a jig to locate the top sort of side rails to go up there. Just a little shot here of the ground floor of the chassis flipped upside down and bolted onto this steel table that was made for some other project that actually got cancelled. So you can weld the bottom up without having to suffer the indignity of crawling around the floor on your hands and knees with the TIG pedal between your knees. You can do it at a sensible height and still hold it flat. I'm sorry that it's a bit hard to see with all the other crap in this shed, but there's that rear bulkhead tacked on in the middle, and the 2 top rails, forward part of the top rails, tacked into position as well. There's the outside of the front half of the chassis, fabricated and tacked in place, ready for the rear bulkhead to move back to where it's supposed to be. So there we have the outside of the front half of the chassis, all full of triangles. Looks a bit like the Forth Bridge, but that's what you do to make it stiff and strong and safe, essentially. All bolted to a handy bit of steel frame that I had lying around. So the next thing is to, unfortunately, this chassis is a bit like two chassis joined together, because there's a bit over there for the driver and a bit there for the engine, and we need a bit of chassis in between. It's just going to be a icky job down in the middle there, but runs along where that central bit of floor is. So now I'll unclamp it from that bed, finish welding it, and put the middle bit in.